On the morning of Saturday, September 2nd, 2023, a lot of us woke up to the very sad and unexpected news that Jimmy Buffett had passed away. Back through the early 90s to about the mid-2000s, I was a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. I had a big group of friends who would almost plan our entire summers around these concerts. And we were those people with the elaborate tailgate setups, and usually even with a shark fin on the roof of one of our cars. My first show was at Poplar Creek Music Theater back in 1993, and I still have the ticket stub, almost exactly 30 years ago. And look at that price, just $28. This was back when I lived in Illinois, but ironically, after I moved to Florida, I kind of lost touch with Jimmy Buffett a little bit, and my music tastes kind of evolved and changed, and I had only seen a couple of his concerts since moving down here. Maybe it's just that after I did move here, the escapist nature of his music didn't quite land the same way. I don't know, but I'll always have a fondness for him, and I loved those times shared with my friends around his music. Great memories around Jimmy Buffett for me. So waking up that day, checking my phone, and seeing that he had passed away brought back a flood of nostalgia mixed with sadness. Jimmy's legendary career and music is undeniably intertwined with Florida, especially the Florida Keys. So I thought we'd go on a little trip around the state to visit a few places that the Parrotheads out there watching might want to visit if they're ever doing a Jimmy Buffett pilgrimage around Florida. First off, I just want to get out of the way that I'm not really going to be talking much about any of the Margaritaville restaurants or hotels here, with just one big exception. There might be some memorabilia in those, but they're really just chain restaurants, and I'm not going to do this in any kind of order with the big reveal at the end, because we all know that Key West is the big one here, and Key West is the spiritual center of Parrotheadism. Jimmy Buffett came to Key West in 1971 just to busk and try to play a few gigs, but he decided to stay. He lived here full-time until the late 70s, but still maintained a residency here for decades. And his recording studio, Shrimp Boat Sound, is still here and still active. So many of Buffett's classics like Margaritaville, A Pirate Looks at 40, Changes in Latitudes, Changes in Attitudes were written here and inspired by living here in Key West. A video like this could probably list off 20 places around Key West alone that are significant to Buffett's history, and just walking around town, you'll see familiar names that have popped up in lots of song lyrics. Places like Captain Tony's Saloon, The Chart Room, Fausto's, Duval Street, Caroline Street, Mallory Square, and there's even a Jimmy Buffett walking tour you can take if you're interested in this kind of stuff. And if that sounds like something you'd want to do, I'll put a link in the description for how you can sign up for that if you're ever down there in Key West. And of course, Key West is home to the original Margaritaville restaurant, which is way more subtle than some of the other ones. The Flora-Bama Bar in Perdido Key, Florida. The Flora-Bama is a live music and beach bar that's attained almost legendary status. It has 5 stages for live music, and it's a place that Jimmy was known to hang out at back in his early days when he still lived in Alabama before Key West. The Flora-Bama is the inspiration for the Jimmy Buffett song Bama Breeze, and it was even mentioned briefly at the end of the song Ragtop Day. The Flora-Bama sits directly on the Florida-Alabama state line, and it's home to the annual Flora-Bama Mullet Toss, where the goal is to throw fish as far as you can over the state line right on the beach. It's a big event, draws a lot of people actually. The original building was built in 1964, but was unfortunately destroyed by Hurricane Ivan in 2004, and rebuilt and reopened in 2010, using a lot of the same material from the original building and from material that was donated by locals and regulars. In the music video here, Jimmy can be seen sitting and singing among the wreckage. The Hemisphere Dancer at Margaritaville, Orlando. So there are 6 Margaritaville restaurants in Florida with locations in Destin, Panama City, Orlando, Hollywood, Miami, and Key West. And if you do want to see a really hilarious video, make sure you go watch Eddie Burback's video where he road tripped around the country to eat at every single one in North America. I'll also link to that one in the description. It is really entertaining and really worth watching. And I already mentioned that the one in Key West is the original, but the one in Orlando is where you can see Jimmy's seaplane, the Hemisphere Dancer, in person. This plane plays a big part in a lot of Jimmy Buffett lore and has become somewhat of an icon of Parrothead culture. It's mentioned in songs and books. It's on the logo of the Margaritaville brand of tequila, cocktail mixers, and frozen shrimp. And it's the plane that was in the center of the Jamaica Mistake-a. That's that infamous international incident where Jamaican police mistook the plane for one that belonged to drug smugglers as it was making a water landing, and they fired on the plane, hitting it several times. The plane was actually being piloted by Buffett at the time, with Bono from U2 and Bono's family on board. But fortunately, nobody was injured, but the incident only grew Buffett's legend. Here at the Margaritaville Orlando at Universal City Walk, you can go right up and touch the famous aircraft, or just sit under it and have a margarita at the Lone Palm Bar that's right next to it. And as an added bonus, the music video to the song Fruitcakes was actually filmed right here at Universal Studios, and you can easily pick out a lot of the buildings and stuff that are still here right in that video. The Trade Winds Lounge in St. Augustine. So before finding himself in Key West, Jimmy lived for a brief time in St. Augustine, where he performed at the Trade Winds Tropical Lounge a little bit in the 60s, and legend has it he was thrown out one night and banned from the establishment for we can only imagine what, which eventually led him to leave St. Augustine and go further down the coast to Miami, and ultimately to the Florida Keys. And the Trade Winds is still open in St. Augustine, where live music can still be heard from the same stage that Jimmy Buffett was cutting his teeth on before Key West. It's actually one of the oldest bars in St. Augustine, too, which is kind of crazy considering that is the oldest city in America. And finally, let's go over to the Square Grouper Tiki Bar at Jupiter Inlet. You may or may not know what a square grouper is, and if you don't, I'll let you Google that one on your own. It's pretty entertaining. But you've probably seen this place, even if you don't even know. The Square Grouper Tiki Bar is the beach bar in the It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere music video with Alan Jackson. This is a popular little waterfront bar that has live music most nights and will let you soak in a bit of Buffett history while you're here. These types of tiki bars along the waterfront are always a great place to get some of that Parrothead vibe in, whether or not Jimmy Buffett himself has been there or not. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if there's a specific place that maybe I forgot to mention. There's a lot of myths and legends out there about Jimmy Buffett's history, and some of them may or may not be completely true. I've actually heard some stories about places that he has been or hasn't been, or wrote a song here or didn't write a song there. Some of these things are pretty hard to verify, but maybe if you know of a specific Jimmy Buffett story that took place in Florida, please leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear about it. And let me know if you've been to any of these places and what you thought. I know Key West is a popular spot. I've been there once, and I can't wait to get back down there. And if you love this kind of stuff and want to learn about more fun things to do around Florida, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell one other person. That really helps the channel grow. Thanks. Talk to you guys next time.